Okay, so I think we're recording now. Yes. All right. So what I'm going to go over today is just setting up my scene. So I'm going to be bringing in some images into my Maya scene, how I go about setting up scaling for those images, because a lot of times we're not taking pictures at the same distance every single time. And then also kind of how I tackle topology-wise some weird shapes. And not to really say like this is a weird shape, but I find that students can find this a little bit tricky on how to kind of best go at it. So that's what I want to talk about today. Also, tackling some things like making buttons for the face of the controller, the joystick, maybe the D-pad, stuff like that. One thing is I don't think I'm going to get done with the controller, and that's okay. I expect you guys to take longer than 2.5 hours to model your objects. So it probably will take me longer than 2.5 hours to model this thing. I do want to leave enough time to go around and see how we're doing. You guys should be modeling this at this point. So probably I'm going to go for about hour and a half, and then that would give you guys some time to work in class and get some more progress, and I can see where you're sitting. Okay? Sound good?
Sounds fine.
Okay. Any questions about what I'm intending to cover before I start? Okay, cool. All right. So in here, I want to go ahead and set up my images. So I have my orthographic planes. Hitting that space bar, I'm going to jump over to my front view. And I'm going to go to View, Image Plane, Import Image. And then I'm going to go over to I think it's in my Downloads folder, Xbox Images, and I need to find a good front orthographic image. This one's pretty good, but it's a little bit far away. I think I have a closer front image. That one's
We
perfect.
just take notes, right?
That's what I'm asking, yes.
Yeah, we don't copy what you're doing, right?
No, take notes like you would in a normal class.
I know, it's just, I know, take notes.
Ellie, all of this is being recorded, so let me keep going, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Okay, so that's gonna be my front view. I'm gonna go ahead and do my side view. So go to my side view, import image. Let's find a good side view. Now, this thing does have obviously two sides, so we'll figure out which one we really need. Thankfully, the controller is largely symmetrical. I think that'll work. Okay. All right, cool. So I got two pretty big images here. And whenever I model my objects, I always want to make sure that I'm modeling them facing down the z-axis. Z-axis is going to be, if you look right here, you see like a little kind of a greenish yellow, red, and blue. These are X, Y, and Z. Z is always going to be blue for us. And that's facing down like the front plane of Maya. So whenever you start up in Maya, usually what you're looking at is kind of like the front of an object. I try to model things facing down the z-axis. So there's consistency whenever I'm importing objects. So all my characters, creatures, props generally are facing down that z-axis. All right, so I'm gonna go and take this image plane right here. Notice, click. Sometimes it doesn't click for you, so just click and drag over the corner and you'll select it. I'm gonna move it to the back, and then I'm gonna move this over. Okay, so you'll notice it's kind of not in the same orientation, so I want to rotate it 90 degrees.
So you rotate the photos.
Well, I'm doing it so I'm achieving the same orientation for both sides, okay? Because this is going to be the front of the Xbox controller is going to be facing down the z-axis, and I want this to do the same thing. So I'm going to flip this around, or you could actually move it. Well, yeah, no, we're going to leave it. We're going to flip it over. If you're working with an object that's like really asymmetrical, use the other side image. This one, it's pretty symmetrical. Both sides are pretty much the same, aside from joystick placement. There we go. And now I have to kind of scale these together to where they're both going to fit. Okay. It's pretty decently scaled at this point, but I need to use a cube in order to actually kind of properly scale them. So what I want to do is go ahead and grab, let's create like a polygon cube. I want to use this guy as kind of a marker. Pull that up. So I got about the width and about the height. You'll see that my picture's a little bit slanted. I'm going to switch my shading over here over to X-ray, so it's in the viewport. So that way I can see through my object. And I just want to just straighten this up a little bit. And then also, if this isn't centered, I want to also try to center it just a little bit more. So I'm looking kind of at the center of that X, the center of this little button right here, and the center in between these two spaces. And I'm just going to see if I can kind of straighten it up just a little bit more, get it even on both sides. It won't be perfect, but just try to do the best you can. All right, so that's going to give me an approximate height for the Xbox controller from the lowest point to the top of the case. And then if I go over here, I'm going to be able to look and kind of replicate that scale with this image. So I'm going to go back over to shading on the side view. Move this forward a little bit. And see, it's a little bit too big. It's just a little bit too big. Okay. So it looks like they are about right. I'm gonna pull this back a little bit. Nice thing about the orthographic views is I can kind of pull them back as far as I want in space, and it doesn't change the scale of those images through perspective in that front and side view. So it's really nice that I can do that. I can also go to my top view if I want to import another image. Go to image plane, import image. So if I'm establishing that this is the front and this is the side, what's going to be the top? What part of the Xbox controller? The trigger part. Yeah. So I should have a picture in here of that part of the controller. So we'll see if I got one. Kind of close. See if I got a better picture. Nope. There we go. So I'm gonna go with that. Okay. I really wish I'd pulled the camera back on this one. Okay. So let's take that. I'm gonna have to flip that around. Make sure I get that at -180. Let's go and do X-ray again so I can see through it. Shrink it down. Let's see. So this is pretty close to the width right here, so I think I'm gonna just kind of eyeball it. Be like, yeah, that probably will work. This just gives me approximate depth of the Xbox controller. And we'll push it back a little bit and rotate it. Okay? So something like that. I'll push that down. Okay, so now we got our three main planes kind of established. If you guys want to create other image planes, you can go into create, and I believe there is a free image plane that you can create. And in here, you can just load in another image. So let's say if I want to do, let's do a back image. I can scale that down. And then you can do as many of those as you want. So if you want to make like an image board inside of Maya, you can absolutely do that. Now, a couple things to keep in mind as we're doing this. It is not saving these images to your Maya file, okay? What it's doing is it's reading them from whatever location they're at, all right? So this is kind of like, it's referencing. It's using it like, say, After Effects will reference footage, okay? So if you reopen it on a different computer and you only have the Maya file, these image planes will be empty, all right? So what you need to do is you need to make a project folder. So if we go to File, Project Window, make a new project. We'll say Xbox controller. I'm gonna go ahead and save it. Let's put this. Put it there. It's gonna come with a bunch of folders inside of this project folder. And then I'm gonna go ahead and save that to the project folder I just created. So that's gonna save it to the scenes folder inside of that project folder. And if we go to that location, I'm gonna go and grab this folder real quick for Xbox images. Right here. So that's the new project folder. If I open it up, you'll have your assets, autosaves, cache, clips, images. All of this stuff is going to be located in here. And what I want to do is go ahead and drop those images that I had unpacked from that zip file. And I want to paste them into my images folder. Okay. So now that if I move computers, and I'm using this on different computers, I can just take that whole project folder, not just the Maya file, and as long as when I'm opening up my file, I go to File, Set Project, and then I open up the project file, or Maya file, it'll always include those images for me. Okay, so we're kind of, it's like a little suitcase. Think of it like a little suitcase or a backpack that we're putting everything in to take with us, all right?
Can you go over and you got that one time?
Which part?
How you made the file.
How I made the project folder?
Yes,
Yeah. So it's File, Project Window, and you're clicking on New, and you're setting a location.
Okay.
Okay? And that's going to put it in whatever location you're setting it to. So here's going to my OneDrive, and it's going to be just a bunch of folders inside of that project folder. Good rule of thumb. I know students will sometimes make folders, just one project folder, and then they'll put everything for an entire class into that project folder. Get in the habit of not doing that. Especially if you haven't been through SLR yet. Well, if you have been through SLR, you'll understand that's a bad idea. But you'll get into situations where you might have duplicate images that have the same name. And it may be that your project may end up like looking at images, like reference images that might have like the number 1, just image number 1. And it may go, oh, well, I'm gonna put a picture of this cup into this image or into this scene because that's what it's referencing. And it's not great. It's not because you're trying to, model an Xbox controller, not a big gulp cup. So I like to make project folders for each individual project I'm working on. So this is a project, this Xbox controller is a project. If I do an iPhone, a laptop, those are all individual projects, okay? All right. Next thing I want to show you guys is auto-saving. Raise your hand if you did not know that Maya had auto-saving as a feature. If you did not know. You guys all knew about autosave?
I
Really?
don't really actually.
Every semester. I get like an entire class who's like, I didn't know that was a thing. I don't know why I'm making a Cookie Monster voice, but I guess that's what my students from last semester sounded like. All right. So if you have not done auto-saving, we're going to go under, let's see, settings. No, where is it? Files, projects, autosave right here, okay? This is another reason to have your project folder set up, because if it's not set up, the autosave is going to go to your default Maya folder. Do you guys know where your default Maya folder is? Good, a lot of students don't. So it just kind of goes in this black hole of their computer that they're not entirely sure where that is. So you want to make sure you do have that set up, okay? Also, interval, this is set by default to every 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes is fine. It's however much amount of time you're willing to sacrifice if Maya crashes. Usually Maya will kind of stop, or it may say hey, this is a student version of Maya, and you have to click OK to make it autosave. That's just what it does. You can also limit the number of autosaves. This is useful because even though we have computers with really big hard drives, some of our files get really big, and this might take up a lot of space. Or you might find out that a year down the line you have a folder with 1,000 autosaves, and that takes up a lot of space. I know at least for me, when I'm using ZBrush, my autosaves can take up to 500 gigabytes. Just because it's just continuously saving these really big 4 gig files every 20 minutes. So if that's something that you are worried about, you can turn on number of autosaves, and it'll just delete the oldest one and update it with the newest one. And it's like a little rolling conveyor belt of autosaves. Okay? Okay. All right. Any questions about that?
Not really.
Cool. All right, so how do I want to attach, or how do I want to approach this controller? Honestly, for me, the way I see it is this is going to be like a croissant. You have the rolls of the croissant that kind of go out, over, and then down. Those are little ridges, kind of follow the shape of the croissant. This is how I see the topology moving for this model. Who knows what topology means? Does that ring a bell?
Surface conformity. How it's shaped.
It is, yeah, it's the surface. It is how your vertexes and edges and faces flow across the surface of a model. Now, for this guy, I'm just going to start off real basic. And let's go and turn on symmetry right here. I'm going to turn on object X. And I'll select both faces right here. Go back to my front view. Now I can move these two together.
Move the faces.
Uh-huh. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull these out.
How are you doing at the same time like that on both sides?
That's symmetry. It's right here.
Okay.
So it's off by default. Turned it on to Object X. Now, symmetry doesn't always work super well. It's kind of like that friend that you count on until you can't. And it's like, you know, once every 2 weeks, they'll do something to piss you off.
That's me.
Yeah. So we've all had that friend, or maybe we are that friend. But it's generally pretty all right. So what I'm doing is I'm just extruding, I'm rotating, and I'm kind of just following like this little silhouette right here. Now these guys, these vertexes need to be pulled down right about here. I'm gonna pull them down right about there. Now you'll notice like this side is not sticking with that picture 100%. That's fine. I'm kind of just picking a side, I'm kind of going with it because I know this is, like I said before, this is a largely symmetrical object. So as long as I kind of stick with one side, I should be more or less okay. Let's extrude again. I'm kind of rotating, and I'm just building that curve that we have for the controller handles. And so you'll see like the faces, they're coming down and then sweeping down towards the end of the controller handles. I'm not building it out and then extruding down. I find this is a little bit more of an elegant solution because I could really work in those organic curves for this controller, okay? These sweeps down here below where your fingers kind of grip around, up here on the top where we have this kind of gentle curve, it helps out quite a bit on the modeling. All right.
Use vertex to move space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just kind of matching the silhouette of this object. And so for me, I'm gonna move a vertex. I'll go back and remove it again and probably a few more times just to adjust, just to get it to kind of fit. And I'll do that probably 20 times. It's kind of like you're tweaking it, just trying to get it perfect.
Trying to get it just right.
Mm-hmm. Trying to get it perfect.
I'm
Okay.
trying to make it perfect on mine just as best I can.
Mm,
I'm just trying my hardest on my work.
yeah. Well, that's the best you can do right now.
Yeah.
If this is kind of a weird saying, but I'll tell students, I'll say, if this is the worst model you make for the rest of your life, that's probably a good thing.
How's that helpful?
Because if this is the worst thing you make, that means your trajectory is only upwards from this point on.
Don't distort yourself.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if this is the worst thing you make, it means you're getting better.
Really?
Everything from this point is better.
Really? Just try your hardest on it?
Yes.
I am trying my hardest on this all the time.
Okay, so let's go and throw in, I think I basically got that silhouette. So I'm gonna go throw in an edge here. And on the back of that controller, I have kind of where it just kind of like rolls around. And so like if you kind of like did like a slice off this controller handle, it's going to largely be like circular with a little bit of like a flatter top on it. So let's see if we can kind of start building that out. So I'm going to grab some vertexes. This is the back of the controller handle. So this set of vertexes right here, that's going to be like the kind of furthest up surface point of that handle. And I'm just going to kind of roll this around, that surface around a little bit. gets a little bit deeper back here. So I'm pull that back. Pull that back. And we'll pull that a little bit. So we're kind of working that shape. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go and throw in another multi-cut right over here. And that is gonna allow me to go in and kind of pull in some of these edges. And then same thing on this side. And pull this out just a little bit. So we're kind of getting like that rounded surface right here. That's getting in the way a little bit. Let's pull you back. Go back to object mode, pull this back so my camera can get in there. I'll pull this up a little bit like that. And there's a curve right here, kind of as it comes down and around on the front or underneath the front. And then it looks like it gets kind of thin. So like this ends up getting tucked up in there. Okay, so we're kind of working with that.
Now, you still grabbing 2 points at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh, you working? Oh, no, you already did that side. Never mind.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
are?
it's working at the same, it's working on both sides at the
Okay,
same
so-
time.
okay.
Now, I mean, another way of doing it is we just work on half of this model and then you can duplicate it over or mirror it over once you're finished. And that's kind of like where mirroring, if that's not working, I'll switch over to that view or to that, not that view, that approach. Just because like that's how I learned how to model, is like always model half your model, then duplicate it over. Okay. So yeah, so I think that'll work. I'm gonna go and take this edge. I want to go and bevel that a little bit. And I don't like these edges being too close to each other. If I hit 3, it's gonna kind of facet this front for me. It's gonna cause a little bit of a harder edge. And honestly, like the front of this Xbox controller is really flat. Like there's not really any hard edges on the very front of it. So I'm gonna kind of pull these apart to soften those points. But the reason why I beveled it is because I just wanted an extra edge loop to kind of help kind of control the front of that controller. Odd word choice, but all right. And then anywhere where these are getting a little bit pulled in kind of weird directions, I'll go in and kind of soften those spots. Kind of pull that up a little bit so it kind of rounds that around. Okay. All right, so let's talk about joysticks, button layout, and kind of where we're going to put everything. All right, so this cylinder initially is going to be a 20-sided cylinder. I like to work with a little bit less topology on my primitives. So what I want to do is go into my inputs and change that division. So I'm going to go over to the channel box. Inputs is polycylinder 1 right here. And in here I can change everything from the radius of the cylinder to the height and the subdivision axis, as well as the subdivision height and the subdivision on the caps. So I find if you're going to go with a low number, 3 is just going to be a triangle, so don't go with that. 4 is going to be a square. Technically, it will round out if you smooth it, but I like something that's a little bit more controlled. So 6, 8, both of those round out really well to nice circles. 10 also can work as well, but 20 ends up being a little bit unwieldy if you're going to be making cuts into it, if you're going to be changing the topology. It's just 20 edges you have to deal with. So I'm going to go with 8. 8 seems to come up a lot in my modeling. So I don't know if it's like my lucky number or something, but it seems to be like whenever I'm modeling arms or legs or necks, appendages, fingers, ends up being like 8. So I don't know. All right, so this joystick right here, I'm looking at it. It appears to be a ball with a little stick, kind of cylindrical stick coming out of it, with a kind of wheel-shaped mushroom on the end, with an indentation for the thumb to sit in on the top of that joystick or that control stick. And so that's what I'm going to be trying to make. Okay. Let's do that. So what I can do is I'm going to show you guys.
Are you making the buttonhole?
No, I'm making the joystick first.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to do the buttonhole.
I am going to do a buttonhole. Don't say that too fast, though.
Sorry. Sorry, it's just that I'm stuck on that part. I'm sort of stuck on that.
All right. I'm going to change my subdivision axis on my sphere to also be 8. So I'm going to join it into the joystick. And then subdivision height, let's do like, I don't know, 4. And maybe more than that. 8, sure. Okay. So I'm going to join these together. Maybe not like that, but at least they're going to be here. Okay, so if I go and take a look at this from the side, the general diameter of this thumbstick is kind of like there. It's also pretty short, so something like that. So then the I'd say a little sphere is going to be somewhere around about that. That feels kind of right on what I'm looking at here. Feels like that ratio. Actually, you know what? Looking at it from, I feel like the stick is even a little bit thinner. I don't know why. Maybe the photo's kind of doing something weird to it. I'll bring it out, lengthen it a little bit. That'll still work. Okay. All right. I'm gonna take a look at this from the front. I want to center these. There we go, that's pretty close. I'm kind of looking at the shape of the cylinder and the shape of the sphere together. Okay. All right, I'm gonna take both of these. I'm gonna go to mesh, combine. Now, there is a intersecting mesh in here. I'm just gonna delete the cap. And then also, I'm gonna delete the cap on the sphere. And then what I want to do is take both of these edges, and I'm just gonna basically just merge vertexes together. So, all right, shift, right click, go to merge vertices. We have the target weld tool right here. Really good tool. It's also under, let's see, mesh tools, target weld. So if you want to go straight to it, it's right there. And it allows you to go and take the first one and it'll snap it over to the second one and then welds them together. Now, other ways we would accomplish this, I could do a bridge, I could do a boolean, I could do an extrusion. So a number of different ways to accomplish this shape, but this is just one way to do it.
This is a target weld tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's it called?
Target weld. Okay, I'm gonna go and do the cap. One extrude. And that extrusion is gonna give me a face loop right here. And that extrusion from that face loop is gonna allow me to bring out the little pad that your thumb's gonna sit on. Do a little multi-cut right here. This little pad there's like a roundness to the side. I think it's actually like a rubbery material. I don't know if it's removable or not. Maybe it is. Doesn't feel like it. Maybe it's coated. All right, I'm gonna extrude that out. I'm gonna bevel that. Let's add another segment right there so kind of control that angle. I'm gonna bring this in a little bit more. And then right here, I'm gonna go and take this point. I'm gonna hit B as in boy, turn on soft select. Let's grow that out just a little bit. Holding down B and then middle mouse dragging to change that radius. Kind of push that in. Push that in too. And then right here on the cap, you'll see this like little kind of like ring right there. So I need to make something kind of reminiscent of that. So I want to take another multi-cut. Come on. I put it right there. And it kind of feels like I'm pretty sure there's like a rubber coating or something right here, but there's like a little piece like my fingernail can kind of get under. So I want to take sure I don't have these edges selected. Make sure I don't have any extra faces selected. And I'm just gonna extrude in just a hair. And also I'm gonna bring it in just a little bit. Bring this in just a bit too. So then when I smooth it, you get that look, okay? So I feel like that's kind of approximating it. Could be a little sharper right here. A little sharper on this section right there. So I'm gonna throw in a reinforcement loop and put one right here, put one right there. Now see how that tightens up that edge? So 2 reinforcement loops, one right below where this turns down, and then one right above where it kind of levels back out. That tightens up that little transition, okay? So it feels more like a cliff than a slope. Now, right in here, I kind of have a similar problem. That is not what the side of the little thumbstick looks like. In fact, it's pretty stark transition from the thumbstick pad to the stock right here. So what I want to do is throw in a couple of reinforcement edge loops here. If I hit 3, notice how it tightens that up really sharp. The tighter you get with those reinforcement loops, it's going to basically push that averaging of the angle whenever we smooth it to be a lower angle, a more acute angle than what we had before. Whenever we hit 3, what's happening is it's averaging the angle between 2 vertexes or 2 edges, and it's saying, hey, I want to do the 50% difference between this point and this point. And if those two have a fairly large difference, let's say between like this angle, and there's nothing here to tell it to go sharper, this edge is going to average these two together. And that's going to give us a pretty weak change in angle, change in slope. But again, if we throw in an edge here and an edge here, it's going to say, okay, well, this distance is a lot smaller, and so I'm going to have to tighten this up. So if I hit 3, then you notice it kind of comes down, hits a corner, and then goes across. Okay? Now, having said that, that also can lead you guys into some danger points, because sometimes students will be like, oh, I'm just going to throw reinforcement edge loops everywhere, and that can cause unintended consequences. Let's say if we wanted to throw reinforcement edge loops around this model, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna throw one here because I want like this area to be a little bit tighter. Okay, it works. But then unintentionally speaking, you made the entire thing look like a Sega Genesis controller. Okay, it's got an edge across the entire side. So keep in mind, any edge that you're throwing in, it's going to try to wrap an edge loop around the entire object. That may be intended, that may not be intended, but you do need to be aware of that and what you need to do to fix that or to resolve it. So let's say if you wanted to reinforce like certain edges, we could use the multi-cut tool and say, hey, if I just want to reinforce like this part, maybe I'm going to go in and let me turn.
What are you doing now?
I'm putting a reinforcement edge that's really localized.
Is it for the whole thing? Or
No, it's a localized reinforcement edge. It's only for this section. So
Okay.
I'm pulling a corner off of here. So we have a try, it's coming across. And now this side is reinforced a little bit, but it doesn't wrap around the whole thing. It's just localized to one part because I have it going into a triangle or another quad or somewhere else where I don't need to worry about it. Okay. All right, so that's going to be the joystick. So let's go make sure we get scale correct and placement correct. Let's go a little bit bigger. And then I'm gonna go and do another one, and we'll move it over to here. Okay. All right, let's go and throw in some more buttons to kind of get everything laid out. So let's go and make like one nice button right here. So I'm gonna go and take another cylinder. Let's do, there we are. Okay, and let's see, we got this one. Let's remember right about there. Now the buttons on top of this are smooth. They're rounded, almost like, well, I assume they're like acrylic poured or just like clear plastic cast pieces. So a flat, hard edge top isn't really going to work for us. So what I want to do is go and take that top edge right here. And I'm going to turn off symmetry. I don't need it on for this. Let's go to bevel. That's going to give us one facet. And then kind of bring that in, and that's pretty, yeah, it's gonna need to be more flat than that. So I'm gonna pull that fraction in. Something like that. So there's a bit of a shoulder, but it's not just sloping off completely. So something like that will work just fine. Okay. I'm gonna duplicate that, duplicate that. If it's a reusable asset, by all means, try to reuse it. Kind of push them into the edge. Now with the B button, and actually the Y and the A button, they all kind of follow the contour of the controller. So while the contour does need a little bit more work, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of angle this while I'm here.
Those are some nice buttons.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My grandmother would be pleased.
Really?
No, she's dead.
Oh, sorry.
It happened 25 years ago, it's fine.
Oh, she gave you that controller?
No. No. Okay. All right, so let's talk about, well, you know, I need to fix this because this is,
On the side.
yeah, I need a little more meat over here. Let's bring that over. I think that'll work. Okay. So for me to kind of create these spots for the buttons and the joysticks to kind of fit in, I'm going to be using Booleaning or Boolean. You know, I've been saying this word for like 15 years. I don't think I've ever never figured out the best way to say it, but Boolean is going to work pretty well, but it does tend to mess up topology pretty bad. Like it's something that can do a good job of making like a cookie cut, but you have to be aware of how bad that topology is. You're gonna have n-gons everywhere, and you have to clean up. Do you guys remember Booleaning from Intro to 3D? A little bit? Okay, cool. So I can at least teach you this. So let's go ahead and let's do a cube and a cylinder. Okay.
And what part is this for?
This is going to be the cuts of where the buttons are going to fit in.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll do duplicate.
How'd you make that cut?
I didn't make any cut.
Oh, you haven't done the cutting thing yet?
Nope. All right, I'm going to base down the topology of this sphere to make it easier. You'll understand why in a second. Okay. So a Boolean can be done in a few different ways. Let's do duplicate U, see union, intersection, and subtraction. Okay. If I go to mesh Booleans, if I grab the first part, second part, and I click union, all right, it doesn't really look like much has changed. I see two edges that have appeared,
Yeah.
okay? Now, if I look at where I have not done the Boolean yet, you'll see that the full sphere is still inside of the cube, and the cube surface is inside of the sphere. So there's negative space with faces and walls inside, okay? What a Boolean does is it takes that away. So there's active history going on, but when I delete the history, you'll see that it's actually kind of sets itself. There's a little wireframe here because we can actually modify this. But in terms of faces, that's a face. This is all one unionized model, but then it's just deleted the mesh that was inside, okay? So it's kind of cool. It's kind of useful in a lot of ways because you can move. Let's see, where is this thing? Outliner. Well, it's not going to be too. You can move the Boolean around a bit, and it'll kind of like transform the mesh. And so you'll kind of be able to like edit it after you've done it. It's not really evident here, but if you look inside, it's like cutting out actively where this object is. So you'll see it actually deletes like stuff on that corner. Let's do something a little bit more obvious. So if I take, let's do cube minus sphere, it's going to create a little socket right here, okay? You can grab the active history for the sphere, the little Boolean right here, and if you move it around, it's basically cutting the model, but it hasn't been really like set yet, but it is changing the model, which is kind of cool. And then if you do the difference, it can be A minus B or B minus A. It just depends on which one you select, the order of selection. So they're the same thing. Intersection is just whatever that positive space in between the two models is. So if you wanted to have that slice from between them, that's what this can be, and that can change. Okay. They've also added in like slice, hole punch, cutout, and split edges. I don't really use these. I mean, you can, but the ones I use the most are going to be union, difference, and intersection. That's been kind of like my go-to for forever. Okay. Now, how do we use this with this model? So, in order for me to make a socket, I would do something like a difference. So, let's do B minus A. Okay. If we look at these two different sockets, this one and this one, this sphere has like 20 sides. Okay. This one has 8. All right. Now we do have 2 vertexes that were kind of added in here, or 2 edges. Now these faces that are left, they're not tris, they're not quads. What are they? They're n-gons. How many sides does just this face I have selected have? You want to count them up? That has 8. At least I'm counting 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 sides. Same thing, I'm assuming, for the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So those are pretty good sized n-gons. If I smooth the model, that's what I get. That's a pretty awful looking model. That topology is gross and trash. And it should feel bad. So it's not what we want for finished topology. If I go back to the model, if I want to edit this in any meaningful way, I want to make sure I can get rid of this active Boolean. I don't need it to be moving around like that. So I need to go under Edit, Delete by Type, History. And where'd you go? Why do you not delete? By the way, if it ever turns green, just right click, assign favorite material, and assign like a Lambert back to it, and it'll be fine. Okay, well that gives me that. Delete history should have fixed you. Let's do delete all by type history. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so delete all by type removes the Boolean cut. Okay, so what we're left with again is something with pretty rough topology, but this is less edges to deal with than something that had like 20. Okay, so when we clean up, we're gonna have to kind of deal with the fact that this is gonna be an n-gon. So I need to kind of go in and cut these edges to where they're all quadded out or tris. Really simple solution would be like, well, if I really have to keep everything else as a, everything is a, everything as low poly as possible, I'm gonna just go ahead and just do tris. It's really hard to see. Let me change the color on this. Lambert. Is that easier to see? Okay, cool.
This seems, I think I'm starting to understand the whole thing.
Cool. Good, good. All right, so then you'll go in, you'll cut, maybe we'll cut across, and sometimes I like to go around and like cut down and around. Cut that one, and then maybe I'll take this one over here. So we got that one. Let's do so something like that. So we have a couple of, or about 1, 2, 3, 4 quads, some tris, and that turns all of these n-gons into usable faces. All right. So what that will allow me to do is if I wanted to say run a reinforcement loop up here, I could do that. And then I already have kind of a reinforcement loop right there. So then if I hit 3, it actually smooths out, and it's much better looking than what it was before, where it just kind of collapsed down into like a little sphere. Okay? So this is kind of what we're looking for when you're creating these these recesses for these buttons. What we're really doing is creating just like a little home for them, like a little place for the button to like actively sit in. It also kind of gives you, when you render it, gives you like a little like kind of a shading, like a ambient occlusion shading right there on the edge of the button. It just looks a little bit more realistic than just, let me just shove this cylinder in here and call it a day. Okay? We're not making N64 graphics anymore. We're trying to go for something a little bit more detailed. Okay. So taking that over to this, what I like to do when I'm kind of trying to figure this out is try to basically set up kind of a clean area for my Boolean to work in. So maybe areas where I have like a edge kind of cutting through. Let's see. I might go through and pull that out of the way. Maybe right here, I'll kind of try to just work a little bit, maybe get that edge out of the way if I can do it. If I can't, because of something over here, I'm not going to worry about it. But anything I can do to kind of like clean out the space just a little bit, so maybe like each piece has its own face to sit in, that is not a bad idea. Also, if I can kind of like cordon off the area, say if like this is all one big face, I might kind of fence this in a little bit. So say if I take like these edges, or these faces, I mean, extrude them and kind of scale them in, I could use that. This is just kind of gonna keep like some of those weird edges that kind of pop up whenever you do a Boolean from like kind of wrapping around objects and just being a little bit oddball. But anyway, it's just kind of, it kind of just comes up as you end up modeling it, where you end up needing to put that. I'm gonna turn symmetry back on a little bit, and we'll move that guy over. I'm trying to get that little edge a little bit cleaner over here. Something like that. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go and take, I need copies of these buttons because I'm gonna sacrifice them. So let's go and duplicate these, group them. Okay, button group. All right, I'm gonna hide that group by hitting H. And then I'm gonna go and take the controller. Let's take the first button, and it's going to be B minus A. Nope, come on. Nope, A minus B, there we go. Okay, and I'll go and take this controller again, grab the next button, shift select the next button, and then shift select the next button. You can't select all of the buttons at once and then the controller and do it. It's going to say you can only do like 2 items at a time. If you wanted to, you could just you could go under like mesh combine and probably combine all the buttons together and pull that out. But honestly, it's the same result either way. So yeah, so anyway, so with these, you know, kind of booleaned out, you can kind of see where those holes are going to be fitting in here. And let's go and go over to edit mesh, edit, delete all by type, history, and then I'll get rid of the Boolean history right there. Okay. All right, so this is kind of what where we're at right now. Do you guys have questions at this point? No? Okay. All right, so now we got to clean stuff up. So there's going to be little spots where like we have easy places for us to, there we go, to clean this up using target weld. So right here where this edge kind of comes in and it like gets really close to like attaching to this vertex, I want to go ahead and do a target weld from here to here and just kind of bring that over. This is really, really close too. And I'm starting off with kind of these edges that are already on the model, not the ones that I cut that are created through that boolean, because I don't really want to change that circle. Come on, Maya. Don't you crash at me, I swear. Okay, there we go. Let's save it real quick just in case. Okay. All right, so this one right here, I'm gonna target weld that one down to here. And to me, these are like low-hanging fruit. This is kind of where I'm just doing a little bit of cleanup. This one, let's take that one over to there. Take this one over to here. I got, you see right here, this really thin edge. I'm gonna kind of get rid of that by pulling these vertexes together, and it'll delete those faces. And then this guy right here. Keep an eyeball out for just any random little purple dots that are kind of sitting off by themselves. See that one right there? Pull that over here. And then we'll do that one right there. Okay. And then some of these we can just go in and delete. As long as they're not like attached to more than like one edge, they're just kind of floating. Okay, and then this guy, let's see, left or right? Let's go right there. Okay. All right, so basic cleanup, right? You guys with me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
I think I'm
cool.
starting to understand it.
Okay. It's like a puzzle. That's how I feel about it. It feels like, to me, it's like a puzzle I got to figure out. And no two models are ever the same. There's always like a different way of going about it. So, again, low-hanging fruit. I want to make a quad. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can just do that by cutting it across right there. All right. Again, low-hanging fruit. Where's vertexes that I can join? Right there. Okay. This might be a little bit problematic. So I think I want to get rid of this edge, because what I want to do is going to be a lot of crisscrossing, and I don't need to deal with all of that. So I'll eventually get it put back in there, but yeah, I just want to kind of be able to make up my own thing. So this guy, I'm going to pull him across to here, and then I'm going to take this one across to there.
I think I'm starting to understand the whole thing.
Yeah, you just said that. Yes, I'm glad.
Yeah, I'll let you look at it later when you're done.
Okay. All right. And I'll go across here. And then if you can work with the topology that's already in place, I'm going to pull this vertex down, and then I will cut across. And then like this one, I'm just going to make a try right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to give me an end-gon. I'm going to go and pull a try right there. And then this guy's gonna go up from this corner up to here. Let's see, that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could do, let's see. Okay, that's gonna give me 3 quads here. And then I'm gonna have a little, eventually I'm gonna have a little spot where I'm gonna be putting the shoulder buttons. So I can kind of tuck away some extra edges into those recesses. And then right here, I'm gonna have 1, 2 quads. If I cut this one in half. So now I had before 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, cut straight through. I have 2 quads now. All right, and then right here, I'm gonna go and cut this across. That's gonna give me 1 big quad. And then right about there. Let's see, this one's a little tricky. I'm not sure where I wanna put it. I'm gonna actually, you know what, I'm gonna run it across. Why are we not going across here? Why won't you let me do this? Oh, because I have symmetry turned on. Turn off symmetry. I know if I continue and I start making the socket for this, I'm gonna eventually have extra edges as well. So I could tie this vertex into one of those that's gonna be on the socket over here, so that'll be useful. And then this one can go down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll give me a quad here. And then I have like this quad right here. I don't like the shape of this quad. It's pulling a really hard obtuse angle on this edge, and it's gonna end up kind of like being a really weird kind of pinch right there. So when I smooth it, it's gonna be a really hard pinch. I kind of want to take, let's see, I want to take this one, let that be a try, and then kind of wrap this around. Yeah.
When do you know that you have to wrap around like this?
Well, like I'm looking at this thing and I'm trying to figure out like where I can hide stuff, because like I want to try to be fairly conservative in my modeling. I don't want to go too over the top with too many faces or edges, because especially if you're like doing stuff in video gaming, it needs to be low poly, because you're going to have a lot of stuff on screen that's actively being rendered. So if I can go lower res, that's kind of ideal for me. And actually, you know what? I do have a solution for this. So I want to turn this into a quad. This can stay a tri, but what I need to do, I need to get rid of this extra vertex. I have 2 extras right here. Let's make use of them. So I'm going to go up, over, around, and back down. That'll take care of this one and this one. And then that's going to allow me to do this kind of corner to corner attachment. And that'll turn this quad into 3 quads. And then if I do this guy, let's see. Yeah, that'll, okay. I'm gonna let that be a try. All right, so that actually ends up terminating that extra vertex I had here. But to answer your question, like when do I know I need to wrap things around? if it's a symmetrical object and like the buttons were the same on both sides, then I know I'm fairly certain I'm going to have like a sister edge on this other side that I can probably attach it to. So I know I have two large circles that are going to be cut into both sides on the other side of this controller. So, once I cut the socket in for this, I'm going to have to figure out what I want to do with these extra vertexes. So I can probably wrap things around, maybe tuck it into the battery compartment, or wrap it around and kind of reinforce this smooth surface, and then reattach them to the extra vertexes I'm going to have on the other side of this circle. So I kind of usually can find somewhere to put this stuff. And again, usually with like pretty symmetrical things, you're going to have a sibling edge or sibling vertex that needs a friend on the other side. So it just kind of works. It works out one way or another. Okay, so I got that. And, I got this guy too. Okay, so he's going to go up here. He's going to go up here. I'm going to have two quads. And you know what? I probably can work this into here somehow. So running these two, or this little two extra edges, or two extra vertexes, that'll actually give me that'll turn those two tries into two quads if you need them, or leave them as tries. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, so that adds topology, but it's not too much topology. It's a little bit heavier than what it was before. We're trying to keep things relatively localized. A lot of that extra topology was terminated in like this area, which is good. So we don't have stuff kind of running around all over the entire controller. That way you can go through and kind of work and add stuff in other places. Now, if we hit 3, you'll see it kind of like marshmallow smooths out. So let's see if we can kind of add some reinforcement looping in here. So add one here, reinforces that area. And then reinforces these areas. And then we have our buttons. Put them in. Now they're nice and seated. And it works out. Maybe they're a little bit kind of sitting out. Okay. Any questions on creating those recesses, the Boolean process, fixing the topology? Are we good? Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about panel lining. So this will be my last thing, and then I'll let you guys work and I'll go around and check on you. So on this controller, we do have, I assume it's made up of multiple pieces of plastic for the chassis. And these are pieces that are like either screwed in or glued in or clipped in of some way. But there are like little edges that like you can kind of work your fingernail into. And in theory, you could probably take it apart. I'm sure there's people who do that. So I kind of want to create like that look or that kind of detail in here. And a couple options for us to do that. Well, maybe let's do it with no, I'll do it here. Okay. So let's say I want to do like a panel line down the middle of this, okay? As it is, it's going to be a smooth surface when I smooth it out. And then if I do one edge, and then if I'd, let's see, grab this edge, bevel it, bring it in kind of tight. Let's do 0.01, something like that. Grab this edge loop, or face loop, and then extrude that in. It's going to create a false panel line. So where we see like two edges kind of coming together and subducting next to each other. Now, depending on how sharp you want that to be, we could take maybe the outer edges, we could bevel them. No, not that much. Let's bring that down to like 0.01. We could control it with an extra segment, 0.005. There we go. And then hit 3. You'll see it's a little bit tighter than it was before. Okay. So it's kind of a nice thing. You're basically just tracing around the object to create that panel line. And that can work for like a false panel line. Now, if we want to do it for like a real object, we could do kind of a similar approach. But it's actually going to be basically two physically separate objects. Like it actually physically is here. Because in theory, I could pull the white part out, the white plastic and the red plastic, and it will be two physically separate pieces. So here, I would take that face loop, I would delete it. Grab these two edges, extrude. Kind of bring them together a little bit. Extrude again. And I'm bringing again a slight like lip right here. And then if I smooth it, we're getting a kind of a similar panel line effect, but they're not really like joined together. We could do like one kind of folded underneath the other. But they are going to be two separate pieces. So one piece, one piece. Advantage on either one is this is still one piece of geometry. You can still model it as one piece. You can run edges across it. You kind of do whatever you need to. Let's say if you wanted to, tighten up both of these sides over here, you're still going to be able to do that. Here it's going to be two separate pieces, so you're not going to be able to run an edge across the entire thing because it's two separate pieces. Let's do 3, 5. There we go. Now that is downside and upside, honestly, of this approach, because then it allows you to control your topology on one part of the model versus the other one. So one of them can be a little bit messier, while the other one stays a little bit more clean, okay? It's kind of a give and take on that approach. So if I throw in, we'll say a bevel here, pull that in. Again, it's going to give you that little kind of like dimpling that we'll pull in on there. Okay. And then if you want to reshape what that edge is, the shape of that panel line, then you can kind of just grab the vertexes for that specific spot, move them around. And then reshape that direction if you need to. Or you could just run that edge, do like a multi-cut, kind of reposition that edge wherever you want it to be, and then split it, and then extrude in as you need to, or as you want to. Okay? Questions? Okay. All right. So, additional resources. I'm going to go and stop here with this.